Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna be telling you how to start from scratch in landscape photography. Yes, it can be done, and here's how you can do it right after this. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome into the video. My name's David Johnston, and on this channel we talk landscape photography. So if you're into taking your camera outside and shooting photos, consider subscribing to this channel. Now in this video specifically, we're talking how do you start in landscape photography? Like, let's say you have learned everything in photography and you're ready to pick a niche and you've picked landscape photography. How do you start? Like, how do you get the things that you need to get, and what do you need to get to start your landscape photography journey? And first of all, don't believe the lie that landscape photography is a saturated market. It's not. When I first started out, I was a nobody. I developed a podcast. I used the internet to level the playing field in landscape photography and gained access to some of my favorite photographers to become a professional photographer in landscape photography. So it can be done. You have to figure out how to do it though, if that's your goal. If you're just a hobbyist and you want to figure out landscape photography and enjoy it more, that's cool too. Here's how to do it. So first of all, you need to figure out the gear that you need to get. Like photography, let's say you're coming in and you already have a camera, you have like a body and a kit lens, or maybe you only have a point and shoot, or you have never bought a camera before and you just know landscapes is going to be your place where you want to settle in the photography world. That's cool. First of all, you need a camera body. Crop sensor is probably going to be the way to go because they're cheaper cameras. If you want and you have the money to invest in a full frame camera, that's totally cool too. But if you're trying to keep it cheap on a budget, crop sensor or like a mirrorless Micro Four Thirds camera is going to be probably your go-to. And you can still take amazing landscape photos with a crop sensor or Micro Four Thirds or a mirrorless APS-C sensor, and that's totally cool. Like, you can do that, you can take great photos with that. I use an APS-C camera body with lenses that give me the best opportunity to shoot landscapes, so it's okay if you have one of those cameras. You don't have to buy a full frame. Now the next thing is lenses. You typically want to invest in lenses because the lens selection in landscape photography is really, really important. Usually landscape photographers go with the wide angle to learn how to shoot landscapes, get those huge foreground imagery into the frame, and then have like a midground and a background behind it. Then they get the telephoto lens, like a 70-200, or a lens that gives you enough range to compress distances together. Those are really the lens options that a lot of photographers in landscape really gravitate to. There are other options like a 35mm, 50mm, 85 that you can use to shoot landscapes, but those, the wide angle and the 70-200, are just like your typical landscape lenses. Now, if you don't have the money to invest in two lenses right off the bat, what you can do is get a lens made by Tamron and get it for your body style and camera make. And they make an 18-400 kind of like do-it-all travel lens. And it's a really good option if you just want to pay for one lens to get started right off the bat. That lens is going to set you back about $650. That is also linked below in the video description for you to check out as well. Now, the unsung hero of landscape photography is the tripod. You need a tripod to keep your camera still, to get some of those longer exposure shots like streaking waterfalls or long exposures of sunrise and sunsets, or even night photography. So figure out which tripod you want to get and invest in that too. You don't have to buy a super expensive one like the carbon fiber, really light tripods. You can get an aluminum one if you can lug it around, or you can even get a cheaper one. I mean, you can find those anywhere on the internet using Amazon or any other buying website that you use as well. But invest in a tripod as well as a camera and a lens, and you'll be off on the right foot for your landscape photography. So what about photos and skills? What are some of the things that you must know for landscape photography to take successful landscape images? Well, you really need to figure out your lenses and your camera first. My one rule rule for beginners in landscape photography and people that I've taken out in the field with to shoot is learn your gear 110% before you invest or upgrade your gear. So if you don't know everything about your camera, or if you don't know everything about your wide angle or your telephoto, or even your tripod, do not upgrade until you know everything about them and they're actually holding you back in landscape photography from getting the shots that you want. Figure everything out first. Figure out wide angle shots and telephoto shots as well. What makes a good composition? Really work on honing in on your composition and honing in on your craft and figuring out your style and what looks best for you in landscape photography. The best way to do that is looking at other people's photos, looking at what you like and don't like about them, and that's the fastest way that you can develop your photography style. You also need to learn everything there is about landscape photography. Find a place online, a community of landscape photography that you can get involved with, whether that be a blog, a forum, a YouTube channel like this one would be a great resource. That's called a shameless plug. I'm not above doing that. Nest here, figure out landscape photography, follow along with the videos and figure out what you need to do in landscape photography to get those amazing images. Okay, what about post-processing? Post-processing and photo editing is a huge part of landscape photography. I mean, you could spend days, weeks, months learning a photo editing software. For beginners, I know this is going to be an unpopular thing and I can see the comments already, but for beginners, I would not recommend starting out in Lightroom and Photoshop. I recently discovered a software called Luminar 2018, and I've been using it for my own landscape photography, figuring out how to make it work. We're going to have some videos on that coming up in the coming weeks, but use Luminar 2018 because it has some really interesting filters and other things that you can use when you're starting off in photography and learning about what makes an image look better in the editing process. Landscape specifically, like what sliders do you need to use? What resources do you need to invest in to figure out post-processing? Because that is honestly 50% of the work is editing your photos and making them look really good and image processing. Getting them right in the field is really important, but just tweaking them, like turning the volume up on them that much more is gonna make those photos really stand out, really pop, and it's gonna make you really proud to post those on the socials. Now, speaking of the socials, what if you want to get involved in the business side of landscape photography? What if that is your goal? I'm gonna recommend start building slow. Start with social media, Facebook and Instagram, and figure out how to post first, how to tell stories with your landscape photography. I recently watched this video that's showing up on the card in the top corner of your screen by Chris Howe. Now, Chris isn't necessarily a landscape photographer, but he made this really good video on how to use Instagram for photography best, and implementing those practices I've done way better in my social media on Instagram. So follow that video and we'll be right here waiting. Go ahead and pause it, watch that one, come back to this one so that you can finish up with the business part of this video. Now let's say that you really want a website. Cool, that's awesome. Be sure that you know which website to invest in and how to build it properly. Now for starting out, I found the best ones are Squarespace and Wix. I use a Squarespace account. I'm not even an affiliate of them, or they don't pay me to say that. I just really love their website designs. They're really easy to use. But let me say, when you're figuring out a website, what people like and what search engines like are the websites that have, yes, photography, like you're a photography website, but they also like a lot of text, a lot of description, a lot of information about you. So don't skimp on the paragraphs of what makes you you and what you love in landscape photography. And they also love frequent updates. So I would recommend building a portfolio site, describing you, about you page, and then also having a blog where you can update your journey along the way. posting photographs as you go along. That also encourages you to keep going, getting out, getting new photos, and figuring out your style and your composition along the way. So guys, I know landscape photography can be a really daunting task. My one suggestion when you're starting out from scratch in landscape photography, the best piece of advice I can give is care. Don't lose the fun out of it. Don't lose everything in the business side of it, or building your photography, or getting likes, or getting noticed on social media. Don't worry about that. Keep it fun, and it will stay fun. That's the reason you got into it in the first place. Look, I've failed at this. I can promise you, keep it fun and you will have so much more fun doing it. If you like this video or you found it interesting or helpful at all, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Go ahead, if you're starting out in photography, share your website below in the comment section. I'll go ahead and pin a comment to remind you of that, but go ahead and share your website in the comment section so that everybody can check it out. If you just have a blog, if you just have a social media account, let's go ahead and post those in the comments, because I want to make this a resource for people starting out where they can follow everybody else's journey. We can comment back and forth and see what's going on in everybody's landscape photography path. Also, if you found this useful or you want to stick around and learn more landscape photography, subscribe to this channel, or you can keep watching. I'm going to post the most relevant landscape photography video based on your YouTube search terms so far, and also a subscribe icon in the top corner of your screen. I'll see you next time, guys.